Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, hopefully having an amazing day. In this video I want to talk to you guys about Microsoft and the next generation of consoles, as there are some rumours that in 2026 Microsoft will be launching 2 new Xbox devices. And of course we will have a flagship console, much like for example the Xbox Series X or Sony's PlayStation 5. However, there will also be another system. However, this is going to be very different to what we saw with the Xbox Series S, whereas the Series S of course was still tethered to your home, so you couldn't exactly take it out and about. With this next console, it will instead be a handheld. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here and a lot of rumours to get through, and we're going to get into all of that plus more after this quick message from the video's sponsor. If you've just built a new gaming PC over Christmas and need a software upgrade, or perhaps even some games, or want to build a new rig with all of the hardware coming out in 2024, HooKeys has you covered this Valentine's Day with amazing discounts on Windows 10 keys, Windows 11, Office packages, Visual Studio, and even, well, games. And to top it off, you can use our code, which is RGT, for an additional 25% off of the already discounted packages. There are huge discounts on various software and operating systems. For example, you can get Windows 10 Pro for just $17, and of course it can be upgraded to Windows 11, or even Microsoft Office for just $48.85. And if you don't fancy the upgrade steps from Windows 10 to 11, you can pick up a straight copy of Windows 11 directly for just over $23 after the additional 25% off code is used, which again is RGT. Personally, I've had very positive experiences buying from their platform using my own personal account. I've also had friends use HooKeys store as well. For example, one of them wanted to pick up Microsoft's Visual Studio as they're a budding developer and they wanted to save a few bucks, and a number of them have also bought Windows keys. The purchasing process is very straightforward. All you have to do is browse through the products and see which one you're interested in, hit the buy now option, and of course you'll be directed right to the shopping cart. There you can apply our code, which is again RGT, to enjoy that extra 25% off, the already heavily discounted Valentine's Day price, and then you can just finish your purchase and the code will arrive in less than 5 minutes. Again, thanks very much to HooKeys for sponsoring the channel, and thank you if you're considering one of the purchases and helping to support the channel as well. So first of all, to give credit, on the Colt Eastwood podcast, a chap by the name of Mag was basically speaking and said that they had been hearing that yes, there would be a dual SKU strategy for Microsoft going forward, and we would see again a premium flagship console. I'll talk more about the specifications I've personally heard about that in just a moment, as well as a handheld. Now that, I think, is a key word, a handheld system. Allegedly it was being crafted, or at least had a lot of input from the Surface folks at Microsoft, which makes a lot of sense given of course they are used to, well, creating a portable system simply by the nature of what they do. And allegedly it would also probably have some type of hybrid design, so you would be able to use this thing docked, much like for example the Switch. However, it would also be usable out and about, and you would still be able to play pretty much the same games between the Xbox Series, whatever the hell this console is going to be called, and the handheld. Most importantly, there would be parity, so you would be able to play the next generation games on both devices. Now of course this does mean additional work in terms of development, much like we saw with the Xbox Series S and X. However, you could also make a very good argument that this could offer a lot of incentives to developers, because quite frankly, if you look at the success of, let's say, the Switch, selling, I think it's over 130 million units, someone please correct me in the comments down below, well, you can imagine that the ecosystem here potentially is absolutely massive, depending on a lot of other factors and just how Microsoft can market the systems. Allegedly, it would also feature some type of touchscreen, and this is my guess, but I would imagine that you would probably be able to do other stuff as well, maybe some kind of work applications again if there's folks at the Surface team involved in this, and you can imagine it would be able to do a lot of stuff, and perhaps it would also be an additional selling point to the system, as quite frankly I imagine there would be a lot of folks who would be interested, for example, and be able to do like light Office apps or whatever. And yes, I know that for some that's not really what they would want out of a console, and frankly I am putting words here in people's mouths, I honestly don't know. But from a logical standpoint and just actually selling more devices, I could see Microsoft wanting to do this, particularly because allegedly this is going to have some type of hybrid compute model. Now the reason I think that that's actually a very likely scenario, other than the fact that Microsoft have been really pushing, of course, compute just in public and cloud, is that even in FTC images, we'll get more into those in a moment, there was actually a lot of discussion with the internal images that basically they would be using this as a kind of, like a cloud strategy as well. In fact, very interestingly, in those images, there was also a discussion of like some type of ultra-thin, lightweight device, but that didn't seem to offer, basically, let's say, compute on the device itself. So it didn't seem like there was like high-end performance chips in there. So I don't know whether Microsoft have changed their strategy here or not, because not only are these documents pretty old, but Phil Spencer himself has said that a lot has changed. In fact, in one of the images, we actually see Microsoft touting supposed specifications of the next generation hardware. Now, in those images, the specifications had not been fully locked in, but they were talking a custom RDNA 5 type of GPU, and for the CPU, they were considering between ARM or x86, which in this case would be Zen 6 based. Several times on the channel before, I have mentioned that 2026 is the release window that I was hearing Microsoft were aiming for the next generation Xbox. And yes, it was going to be, of course, using AMD. In this case, they would be using Zen 5 and RDNA 5. I had also heard very brief conversations were had with Nvidia on the potential for supplying hardware, but this was really early on, and honestly they just didn't really get off the ground. Microsoft are super happy with AMD for a lot of different reasons. In fact, another rumor that I heard is that Microsoft were considering a new device called the Saban, which was basically kind of a refresh of the Xbox Series S, which had a machine learning chip in it, but again, that just didn't get buy-in by management, and they decided to scrap the device. Basically, there's going to be no refreshes in like an Xbox Pro for this generation. Instead, they're going all in for the next generation. But Microsoft, in terms of partnership with AMD, they have really gone all in with a lot of different stuff. They're pushing the Epic line of processors, etc., etc. Also, Microsoft have kind of a bit of a spotty relationship with Nvidia. When you look at the original Xbox, I think there was like some kind of contractual dispute. I don't remember the exact details. I don't want to speak out of turn here because that's just from memory, so I would highly encourage you guys to do a bit of investigation on that, and I think that they have patched that relationship up quite a lot. But ultimately, sticking with AMD offers them several things. One, well, they have a good relationship with them, which is never a small thing. Two, x86 is a really big deal, so just the fact that in terms of Zen and backwards compatibility, it's a lot less work. RDNA is also established in the Xbox console, so again, backwards compatibility is a really big thing. But perhaps the real killer, the real incentive, AMD have a lot of talent and engineering prowess when it comes to their semi-custom design teams. It would take a lot for Nvidia, Intel, Qualcomm, ARM, whoever, to be able to like wrangle that as an incentive from Microsoft. So basically speaking, I think that Microsoft are going to be doing some very interesting things for the next generation. So I have to tell you guys, I've never actually had anything super solid about a handheld device. Someone did make an offhand comment to me once that they suspect that Microsoft may be going that route. However, they didn't have any like evidence, as in they hadn't told me someone specifically at Microsoft had told them this. They just thought that it would make sense from a business perspective. And obviously that's not the same thing as me hearing that a source has told me something very specific. But again, I would be very interested to see what Microsoft does here, if this information is true. All I can tell you is that the info that I have heard is that the Xbox, the next generation Xbox, I mean, that's one big problem with Microsoft. Like, what the hell do you call it? The PlayStation 5, it's the PS5. With the PS6, well, you know it's going to be the PS6. They're not going to call it something like something entirely random, are they? They're not going to call it the Sony Box 12 or something. You know what it's going to be called. It's such a pain in the ass. But anyway, the next generation Xbox, I have almost certainly at this point been told by multiple people that it is still being worked on. It is going to release. It is based on RDNA 5/Zen 5. But it will launch earlier than Sony. So the PlayStation 6, it is also almost certainly using AMD. Ironically, the conversations actually between Sony and Nvidia, from what I've heard anyway, went a little further. There was a lot of and ahhing, but pretty much for the exact same reasons that Microsoft stuck with AMD, Sony are sticking with AMD for the next generation. But the specifications at this point, there's just a lot of wishy-washy stuff. I can tell you guys it's going to be based on some iteration of RDNA, but what, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about RDNA 6 onwards. I know some stuff about RDNA 5, but I'm not going to mention it in this video because, well, I want to save that for another RDNA video exclusively. But I will say that it puts a lot of stuff in terms of machine learning rumors that we've been hearing into a lot more context. Furthermore, for AMD, their CPU roadmap is really aggressive. So Zen 5 is huge in terms of an IPC uplift over Zen 4, which is the current desktop CPU. Zen 5 is going to launch later this year. So why have Microsoft decided to not go with Zen 6 when it was in the in these kind of initial plans? Well, my guess is RDNA 5 is going to launch and I say roughly end of next year. So as of the time I'm recording that, that's like 2025. Now Microsoft are going custom, so my guess is that it's going to probably have some Microsoft custom stuff, as well as maybe some elements of RDNA 6 simply because of bring up times. But with Zen 5, it's going to launch this year, and then Zen 6 is going to be, roughly speaking, 2 years into the future. It's going to be like 18 months to 2 years is typically what you can expect from AMD, like in terms of the life cycle of products. It's usually around 2 years. And from what I've heard anyway, the IPC gains of Zen 6 are a lot, I wouldn't say slimmer, but they're not as profound. Basically, architecturally, Zen 6 is not such a big uplift, which is very typical for what AMD does. Like Zen 2, Zen 3, they were really big jumps. And then you had Zen 4, which was a small, bump here or there. There were clock frequency improvements. Zen 5 is an entirely new ground-up design that's official from AMD, and I've heard that the IPC gains are absolutely ridiculous. Zen 6 is a smaller uplift, but there's a lot of new packaging technologies for the Zen 6. I'm trying to think of the CCD name. Shit. Medusa. Thank you, brain. But anyway, yeah, so basically Medusa has a lot of new packaging technologies, and it's going to have like completely new IOD, which is not something really that's going to make any real difference for a console design. Because again, all of this stuff is going to be custom. So my guess is that this is a very logical thing from Microsoft. I will be very interested to see what they actually do with this thing. Of course, the real big question for a lot of folks at the moment is what Microsoft's strategy is going to be for the software. Obviously, there have been all of those rumors that Microsoft are going to be porting some games like Starfield, Hi-Fi Rush, I think was one of them. Even Halo. And Phil Spencer has said that next week, I don't think there was a specific date given, just next week, they're going to talk about this more. There were some discussions on Twitter from Xbox folks that apparently a lot of people panicked way too much about this stuff, and it's not actually like doom and gloom and Microsoft getting out of the console space. Honestly, I couldn't tell you anything about that. I do not know, so don't ask me. I genuinely do not know about, their decisions on the game side of things. I know as much as you on that. I hope Microsoft does compete continuously in this space because, I love PlayStation games, but Microsoft have made a lot of mistakes with the Xbox, just to be honest with you guys. I think, the Xbox One generation, especially early on, they screwed up a lot, but I do think that the console space does need a competitor. And I think it's really obvious that someone else isn't going to step in. Nintendo, obviously, they're going to continue to do their Switch strategy. Sony, obviously, are, doing the Sony strategy. And I don't think we're going to see Apple or someone else jump in anytime soon. There was those alleged rumors that Apple were making a console or something. But since then, there's been bupkis. So unless, something's happening, I haven't personally heard about it. Who knows? So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens on that front. What else? That's just about it, actually, for this video. The next video is probably going to be more PlayStation focused. Ironically, that was going to be the video today. I actually finished the script, but Well, this came up, so there we go. So the next video is going to be discussing the PlayStation 5 Pro and a little bit about PS6, and then the video after that is going to be probably some RDNA 5 stuff. Maybe with some additional crap thrown in, you know, between the videos, depending on how long scripts take. With that said, if you've enjoyed the video, you know what to do. It's YouTube, subscribe, and, you know, all that stuff. Have an amazing day. Stay safe. Bye for now.